What's going on, YouTube? So we recently spent time with the refreshed Jetta and found that it brought some surprising sophistication to the compact sedan space.
And for the past week, we've been spending time with the fun GLI model.
So does this have the German performance for an affordable price? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's get things started under the hood with the spec dump. So this is the GLI. That means we've got a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under the hood, making 228 horsepower. That's going to be paired to either a 6-speed manual transmission or a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy is 30 mpg.
Now, the base price on the Jetta is around $21,000, and if you're looking to buy one, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. And of course, this is also a 7-day review, so we do some special elements in our 7-day review. First of all, we're going to go ahead and give you our sound level reading in Kentucky. We're also going to discuss our real-world fuel economy after driving it for a week, and at the end, we're going to tell you if we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because Volkswagen made some changes to the exterior as well as the interior. Like I was saying, the Jetta always has a nice sophisticated appearance, and for the 2025 update, they really kind of doubled down on that. And really overall, it's just a very clean looking design. Now, when you have the GLI though, this is the sport model. So this is going to add some spice to the nice, so to speak. And you'll see up in the front, we have the gloss black finish to our lower fascia, and then you've got the red accenting, which is going to go all across the bottom and actually kind of kink up over here on the side, just giving it a little bit of a sportier flair. GLI branding is up here in the upper part of the grille. And then while I'm in this area, we might as well point out, of course, the lighting. So you'll notice we've got the light bar that's going across the front end. That's going to kind of connect in to the daytime running light and turn signal indicator that curve around the updated LED headlights. These are reflector LED headlights, and overall performance is pretty decent for a vehicle in this class. Now, as far as the rear is concerned, there are a few sportier elements, but not a bunch of differences for the GLI.
Yeah, and it overall has a really nice and tasteful look because, of course, this was refreshed for 2025. One of those big elements that the refresh added was the full-length taillight cluster through here. Now, Drew's hopping inside so you can see if all the elements are LED with this taillight. As you can see, we do have an LED brake light, LED turn signal, and LED reverse light. So full LED, standard across the board on the Jetta. That's a really nice touch. We also do have some special GLI branding here, although we're not going to have a spoiler, which is a little interesting. Down here, though, that's where it starts to get really cool for the GLI. You have a lot more of an aggressive sport diffuser, and you're also going to have the dual exposed exhaust outlets. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it.
And moving on to the wheels, we've got the 18-inch alloy wheels with a gloss black finish on board. I think it looks really nice with this paint color. And then, of course, you'll notice we've got the red brake calipers as well, again, giving you a little bit of splash of color, matching there with the GLI branding on the door trim. And as far as our mirrors are concerned, gloss black finish on board. Of course, you do have heating and blind spot monitoring as standard equipment.
Now at the side, the overall vehicle length is about 187 inches long. For the GLI version, it's just about an inch longer than the other Jetta models. And as far as design elements, I do really like that they've fully blacked out the roof here to give you that nice contrast look against the paint color. And let's go ahead and talk about safety systems as well. So some of the Jettas won't have all of your safety features as standard equipment, but here on the GLI with the automatic transmission, you are going to have every single safety feature as standard equipment. And we did actually use those on a long road trip this week, and we did find the travel assist function to be quite handy overall. But guys, there's quite a nice cabin on the inside that has some updates, so let's go ahead and dive into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12 and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, let's move on to the cabin, but first, of course, we'll look at the key fob. We have a nice and sturdy key fob. You have smart entry, of course, and remote start is built in as well. And then to get inside, just press that button right there on the door handle to unlock the door. And then take a look at the interior. So, of course, like we have been mentioning, there are some updates to the cabin experience for 2025. But before we get into specific details of that, I want to start off by talking about the seats. So the GLI does come standard with real leather seats. As you can see, our example has a two-tone look to it. So we've got a light gray on the inside with perforation and nice stitching details, and then a black that kind of goes on the outside edges. Overall, these seats look really nice. You'll also notice that they have good bolsters, which hold you in place when you're driving aggressively. And like Mason was saying, we went on a road trip in this vehicle. We actually drove it 6 hours on the highway from Chicago, and we were not uncomfortable at all. So these seats are very supportive on a long trip. In addition to that, you're going to find that you have memory seats, which not many cars in this segment have. And then you also have 6 ways of power adjustment with 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. So the nice little animation pop up, and in terms of the door, it does shut really solidly. Now, the rest of the materials in the cabin are also quite solid for a compact sedan. So you'll notice that we've got the leatherette through here for our arm to rest against, more leatherette with the stitching details matching to the seat, and then the top part is going to be a soft touch plastic. All of this upper dashboard is a soft plastic as well. We have a new vent detail finished mostly in a piano black leatherette that runs through the center section. And then down on lower panels, of course, they are not padded, but again, they are nice and solid. Now the push button start is located right here next to the shifter. Now getting into some individual details inside of the cabin. All the Jettas now have a digital cluster. It's 8 inches on the lower trims. The upper trims, though, get this 10.25 inch gauge cluster. And as you can see, nice looking graphics on board. They're very sharp and crisp. You can also change the design of it as well when you change to different drive modes, just a little bit, as you can see when I do that. Now, of course, you don't have a head-up display up at the top. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we've got a nice leather-wrapped wheel. It has perforations here on the sides. It's good feel in the hand as well. Flat bottom and GLI branding with the color scheme down at the bottom. Now just be aware the buttons, though, are touch capacitive, so they're a little finicky sometimes while you're trying to get used to them in terms of changing the volume and cruise control. One of the buttons on the steering wheel, though, that I do like to see is that we have steering wheel heating. And not only that, it does actually have 3 different stages that you can adjust. The wheel itself, manual tilt and telescoping. And let's take a look at interior storage. So, opening up the center console, this is really quite big, guys. So, of course, we have donuts inside. That's our logo. We like to test the volume. And when we do that, you can fit 10 donuts inside of this compact sedan. That's a quite good performance. In front of that, you've got your 2 cup holders, a little slot here, which is not really good for too much except collecting dirt. And then over there, you've got a nice wireless phone charging pad with a rubber lining and a couple USB connections above it. Coming to the shifter here, of course, we do have the DSG, the dual clutch automatic transmission, so you're just going to pull back for drive. Bump to the right if you want to shift manually. There are also paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well. And then we go into reverse. You're going to see the standard backup camera pop up. This is definitely on the crunchy side of things, and you do not have active trajectory, so nothing really fancy going on there. But of course, you also have an electronic parking brake located right next to that, and you can also turn on and off your auto start-stop system right there. Now, moving on up from that, this is a new element for 2025. So this is what Volkswagen calls Climatronic climate controls. And basically what this means is it's controlled through a touch screen or touch interface, I should say. You swipe up and down to adjust the temperature. You can tap. Overall, it's actually pretty sensitive and not too difficult to use while driving. You also, inside of this display, have your 3-stage heated seats, and super surprised to see that we had ventilated seats on board. That's pretty rare again for this segment of vehicle, and it's standard on both the SEL and the GLI trims. And let's go ahead and get into the audio systems. Now, of course, there's going to be a variety of them as you move through the trims. This, though, has the Beats audio system, and let's hear it. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is really quite good. Now, let's talk about the main infotainment system here. So this is an 8-inch display. This is going to be standard across the entire lineup of vehicles. And it does have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay in terms of the different features you're going to get. Now, this, of course, is not the latest and greatest Volkswagen system. So overall, it can be a little slow at times when you're navigating to different menus and things like that. Also, the resolution is interestingly a lot lower than the gauge cluster, so it kind of makes it look crunchy and draws attention to itself. But overall, it's perfectly functional for a vehicle at this price point. Up top, you have an auto-dimming mirror. And then we also have a sunroof. This is included on both those top trims I was mentioning earlier. The sunshade is kind of translucent, and it does open up.
All right, so let's check out the rear seat area in the Jetta GLI. Now, this area, I'm actually very happy to talk about some of the space and features that you're going to find back here because it's probably going to be more than what you were expecting. Now, we'll just go ahead and start with our legroom figures. We're sitting at about 37 inches of legroom and about 37 inches of headroom. Those are actually very good figures for a compact sedan such as this. And we bring our official Car Confections ruler along with us, and the reason we do that is so we can see how much knee room there is with the seat adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". I'm 5'9" for reference, and once I get it situated here, we are going to be sitting at around 7 inches of additional knee room. That is really, really good for a compact sedan. My feet can also easily slide up underneath of the seat. So overall, space and comfort are quite nice. These seats are really quite comfortable. As far as features are concerned, no vents here in the center. Also, we're not going to have any outlets or anything like that. And the center hump is a little bit big, so keep that in mind. Do be aware, though, you can get heated back seats, but that's only going to be on the SEL grade Jetta. If we fold down the armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside of there. And then if you look over at the door trim, it's going to be a little cheaper than the one in the front. So we have hard touch on the upper part, but we do have a little bit of leatherette on the armrest portion itself and a bit of door storage as well. So overall, I've actually been very impressed with this rear seat. I think you could totally do a road trip back here with, 4 people in the car and not be too uncomfortable. Now walking up to the cargo area, there's a button under the lid. When you do that, as you can see, they've really nicely dampened it, so it's going to pretty much fully open up like a power trunk. And as far as overall space is concerned, we're sitting at 14.1 cubic feet of space. Guys, that is really a very impressive space figure. As a matter of fact, it's really almost as big as some of the mid-size sedans that you could be cross-shopping. A Toyota Camry, for instance, is really only about 1 cubic feet more cargo capacity. Definitely appreciated that on our long road trip this week. It could easily swallow up our suitcases. Now, the seats do fold 60-40 split, and we don't have a name for this measuring device, but this is our tape measure so we can see how much cargo length we have from behind the second row of seats. That's 43 inches of overall length. As far as the opening, about 37 inches wide, and then height is going to be pretty good, about 22 inches tall. If we lift up the cargo floor, there is also a spare tire integrated down there. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Volkswagen Jetta GLI. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, but perhaps more important than that is our initial acceleration. So let's go ahead and dive into it.
All right, that was 60. So that was the launch control, actually, that the model has. I was kind of surprised to learn that it does have a launch control, but you know, overall, this is a pretty quick guy, that's for sure. You don't even have to be using launch control to just notice that you've got a lot of power and especially a lot of torque for a small package. Now, to remind you guys what we talked about with the spec dump, this has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. Again, like, you really definitely feel that torque surge as you accelerate, and it just kind of almost feels like it builds as you go along. It's really a good sensation of acceleration, that's for sure.
Yeah, and guys, those horsepower figures, it's worth noting, are, you know, less than a Hyundai Elantra N, less than some of those other rivals you may be looking at. But we have had those on loan. We've lived with them for a week. We've lived with a lot of this vehicle's competition. And this one feels just as fast. Even though they are rating it at, you know, under 230 horsepower, it feels really quick. And the torque...
I mean, it really does push you back in the seat.
Yeah, I think they're just underrating the horsepower on this, because it definitely feels just as fast as some of those other rivals. But I do also want to point out the standard Jetta powertrain. For those of you that, you know, don't need anything quite this fast, you can just get a standard 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder. That's 158 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. We have also reviewed that on the channel already for this refreshed model, so if you'd like to check that out, feel free to hop on over to that video. But overall, this is definitely going to be a big upgrade for those of you that have a little bit of an enthusiast edge. I think you're really going to like this GLI.
Now let's talk about the other element of the powertrain. That, of course, is the transmission. Now, we already talked about earlier, or mentioned it, that we have the dual clutch automatic transmission. So this is a 7-speed DCT. It is an available option. It's actually no additional charge, as a matter of fact, from the 6-speed manual. So you can choose just kind of whatever one matches your lifestyle best. Obviously, you know, Volkswagen sent us the DCT. Would have liked to try out the manual as well, because it is actually the last Volkswagen left in America that has a manual transmission option. So if you want to take advantage of that, now's your time, because you don't know how much longer this is going to last.
Much longer. So yeah.
But in terms of the performance of this dual clutch, it's really no penalty. It's absolutely snappy in terms of the shifts. I was just using the paddle shifters to kind of demonstrate that. They're really nice and responsive. It's just a good mate to this engine, I think.
Yeah. And power is going to be routed to the ground via the front wheels, as you probably noticed during our initial acceleration. Definitely will, you know, burn the rubber a little bit. That being said, it does put the power down quite good for the most part, because it does have a limited slip diff here on the GLI version. And I want to take a second here to discuss ride quality as well. So now that we're just kind of cruising down the highway portion here, there's a couple things worth mentioning. First of all, we do have extensive experience road tripping this vehicle. As Drew said, I believe getting into the vehicle, we did over a 6-hour road trip. We actually drove it back from Chicago, and so 6 hours in this vehicle. So we certainly know what we're talking about when it comes to the ride quality. This area, I'd say I'm actually very impressed with. Now, standard here on the GLI, we have an adaptive damper situation. So what that means overall is that ride quality is, you know, pretty firm if you have it in the sport mode, such as right now. However, when you put it in just the normal comfort setting, it is actually not bad at all. It does a decent job of soaking up bumps and really rides like pretty much everything else in the entire segment, even without any type of performance edge like this.
And that was an acceleration without sport mode, or without the launch control, excuse me. Yeah, and like Mason was saying, it really does put the power down remarkably well. Yeah.
And let's go ahead and get our sound level reading.
Of course, we need to get everything back into normal mode and quiet everything down here.
Normal mode. Fan speed is on 1. Let's go ahead and get it. 57.5 decibels is what we were looking at before we started slowing down there. I would sit here and guess how it compares to other compact sedans. I can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings, where we've looked at all the compact sedans out there, and we can see how this compares. And indeed, that's actually going to place it on the quieter end for compact sedans. It's very similar to the other Volkswagen Jetta, just a little bit louder than the regular version of the Jetta that we tested out earlier this year. Not quite the quietest thing, but overall, it's definitely a lot better than some of the other options like a Honda Civic.
All right, so now we turn onto a back road. This, of course, is a big area for this GLI. Tucks in really nicely when you chuck it around a corner. Of course, as you'd expect, you've got a sport tuned suspension. It's going to keep things nice and tight. Very minimal body roll as you go around the corners. The steering is pretty light. That's one thing we do want to mention, is the fact that it is still pretty light, although it's very fast. Once you get off the center, there's a little dead spot in the center, but outside of that, it's very fast responding. Good grip from the tires. And overall, it is very fun just to take down a road like this. That's kind of the main thing about a vehicle like this at the end of the day, is that you can have that dual character where you can have fun, but you can also still have a practical environment where you can have a family or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that today has got to be our slam dunk. It really just does that so well. Our 6-hour road trip really revealed that it's actually quite a comfortable option, but yet we're out here on a back road having a lot of fun in the very same vehicle.
I'm going to go ahead and hit the air ball as well. That is going to be this infotainment system. I already kind of went through a couple of the flaws earlier in the interior, so I won't spend too much time recapping that, but basically it's old, and the new gauge cluster kind of really just highlights that it's older and crunchier.
All right, but let's get into the fuel economy. So the GLI actually gets pretty good fuel economy for a vehicle with performance, sitting at 29 miles per gallon combined. For this model, of course, the standard motor options do get slightly better fuel economy, but this is really not a huge penalty. And as far as our real world fuel economy, we drove about 480 miles, so a long ways. It was actually more than a full tank of gas this time around, and we were averaging about 36 miles per gallon. That is really impressive fuel economy. You can see that on the screen right now. Now, most of that was on the highway. I think about 400 of that 480 miles, so about 80% of that was highway driving, but 20% of it was city driving, and that's still exceeding what the EPA says highway wise. So I was very impressed with that fuel economy figure. I think that's a very good indication that in the real world you can expect to find actually a little bit better fuel economy than what it's rated at. But it's a 7-day review, and what do we do in all of our 7-day reviews? Well, we tell you if we like it better, worse, or the same after living with it for a full week, doing a long road trip in it. And I have to say, we absolutely like this car a lot better than we thought we would. This thing, honestly, very much impressed both of us when it comes to overall comfort and the dynamics associated with it, too.
Right, we knew it would be fun, but honestly, I thought, I don't know if it's going to be a great road trip companion for a 6-hour road trip. But it really is not uncomfortable either, so it's just kind of all around a really fun little guy.
Yeah.
That's very practical.
Yeah, often forgotten too. People don't really talk about this all that much. And let's go ahead and talk pricing. So as I said at the very beginning of the video, the Jetta does start at under 22 grand, which is a very affordable price tag nowadays. Now, if you want the GLI, though, that is going to, of course, cost more because this is a very top-end model. $32,715 is our base price for the GLI version. Now, as you can see, we have $32,715. We have the GLI Black package, as well as 1225 destination. We're sitting at a grand total of $34,590 as tested today, which I honestly think is quite a good value for what you're getting here. If you're looking to buy a Jetta or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. We even have a monthly payment tool if you'd like to take advantage of that. A link to that is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volkswagen Jetta GLI's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 51.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 14.7%. Now, it's worth noting that is right about industry average for all vehicle makes when it comes to resale value percentage. However, it's going to be less than a lot of the other options that you might be looking at, such as Hyundai, Toyota, Honda. Those types of brands will have significantly higher resale value percentages.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Volkswagen is rated well below the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Additionally, when it comes to your warranty, you do have a 4-year, 50,000-mile, both basic and powertrain warranty. Volkswagen does also include 2 years and 20,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that's going to be it for our 7-day in-depth review of this refreshed 2025 Volkswagen Jetta GLI. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to be a part of our Car Confections family, we have a lot of fun. I promise you won't want to miss out. You're also going to get access to the latest car reviews and detailed impression reviews such as this, where we're able to take it on extensive road trips and live with it for a full week. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.